this area is uninhabitable and useless to civilised man. The other thing he said was, you will never ever find a Cit-In on this side of the world. Boy, was he wrong on both statements. Okay, now that I've mentioned the Italian culture, did you know that Griffith is a very multicultural town? In fact, we have over 30 cultures and different nationalities that reside in Griffith. And this swells to about 60 nationalities during the backpacker season and when the 457 working visas and the migrants arrive. Of course, our population of over 25,000 people generally, for some reason, shrinks very quickly after the Department of Immigration come and pay a visit into town. Now, you've all had some questions to ask about the Cit-Ins. I'm going to ask the beautiful Ginny to come up and help me in assist in providing some prizes to anyone who can answer the next 3 questions about our town. So please give a round of applause. In the absence of a PowerPoint presentation, I've actually got to start dishing out the little things. Okay. In what year was Griffith proclaimed the city? 1912. Very, very close. 1996. Who's the 87? Ah, here we go. This man received the key to the city. Question 2. What happened in 2010 that had an incredible effect on every driver in Britain?
Traffic lights. Traffic lights.
Who's the traffic lights? Oh, come on now! That's right. Off you go. Seriously, I tried to pinch one from Griffith, but we got bloody cameras everywhere. Yeah. You wouldn't believe it. We were walking in the main street of Melbourne, Little Latrobe or something like that. Anyway, a bloody green light fell out on the footpath. I picked it up and think, wow, a souvenir from Melbourne. My wife Trish, the lovely blonde lady there, who's got her head turned away there, I said, what WTF are you going to do with that? All right, you're not bringing it home anyway. You managed to slide it into the back of the car, and I'm a bit of a bowerbird. I said, you know, we're bound to be able to use it somewhere. And we did! What is this region's annual rainfall?
400 millimetres.
And I'm happy to take inches.
400 millimetres.
Oh, 16. Someone say 16? Very close. 17. Oh, come on now. Hang on. There's a story on this. Did you know that the average size wheel on a Cit-In is 15 inches? Now, give or take a couple of inches. So I thought I'd give her a tire lever. She can help herself to any block Cit-In tire in the yard and take it home as a reminder that we have 17 inches of rainfall. So thank you very much. Thank the lovely Ginny. Oh, you got a tractor. Oh, that's your farmer. Okay, a little bit of trivia for you. We have the ideal temperature range in Griffith. Lovely place to retire. If anyone's looking for a place to retire, I know it's out the middle of sticks, as Gwyneth has sort of alluded to, but I can assure you that we're not really that far from anywhere. Anywhere, there's a little sign around the corner that says anywhere. Our temperature range is like -4 to 45 degrees. You can't realise that is an absolute wonderful temperature range to retire in. I was looking up on this, this board and watching the Cit-Ins, driving through some heat and some mud and all sorts of diverse and adverse weather conditions, and I thought, wow, look, you guys are home. Griffith is an irrigation area. It is in an irrigation area. We've been established for about 100 years. In fact, we had the centenary of irrigation about last year, at the end of last year. 120,000 hectares of irrigated agriculture, growing fruit, wine grapes, veggies, cereals, rice and nuts. We are commonly known as the fruit bowl of Australia, and we think that something in the region of about 20 to 30% of any food that you grow will come out of this area. In fact, I heard a really interesting statistic the other day. About 200 semi-trailers leave this area on a daily basis. So, we produce a hell of a lot of food, and hopefully it doesn't go through Colton Woods. And I noticed that one of the sponsors, so you can clap as loud as you like. Our major watering system comes from two major dams which are 300 kilometres away, Blowering and Burrinjuck dams. And Blowering Dam is part of the Snowy Hydro Mountain Scheme, which provides you guys with a whole lot of cheap electricity. We provide you guys with a whole lot of cheap food. And so you have a lot to thank your country cousins for. We also have about 2,500 kilometres of channels within our area, all gravity fed, so it's a bit of a marvellous mystery that actually occurs, to deliver water from 300 kilometres away to our farm gate, all with gravity. So, we're a pretty impressive area. We were told we wouldn't survive beyond 100 years, and we have, and we thrived, and we're still here today. So what do we do with all this water that we have? Griffith grows 60% of the New South Wales wine grapes. Our major export markets are the US, Asia, the Hunter Valley. The Hunter Valley. It's really interesting. I shouldn't say this. Maybe I'm talking out of school. Any wineries here? Wonderful. Hunter Valley has about 100 hectares of grapes and produces 30,000 tonnes of wine grapes. Go figure. I mean, it just doesn't happen. So when I say that we have 200 semis leaving here on a daily basis, quite a few of them head down that way. So, 300,000 tonne of grapes equals about 240 million bottles of wine. So for every man, woman and child, given that our population as of last night was 22,943,000 and a couple, that's about a little over 10 bottles of wine for every man, woman and child in this country. So we're significant when it comes to wine. So drink up, folks. Casella's Yellowtail is probably one of the most renowned wineries or labels in this area. Griffith also produces 80% of New South Wales citrus. We produce about 180,000 tonne of oranges, which equates to about 50 million litres of orange juice. So the moral of the story is, we seem to produce more wine than orange juice, and that's probably not a bad thing sometimes. On the subject of citrus, I've been reminded quite often today, or even the last couple of days, that citron means lemon in French. And I guess I've never seen so many lemons parked in the Bagtown car park. I know. You know where he's gone? You know the guy who won the brace, the wheel brace? He's going to make sure that, yeah, that lady that's just won the wheel brace, I reckon he's got to make sure his tie is not the one to go. Okay, in 1924 we started growing rice in the region, and we are a major rice producer, you know, for whatever it's worth. Cotton, our winter cereals, we've got lots of vegetables and lots of nuts. So we have an extremely diverse agricultural landscape in this region. So, and we've got really good water, we've got clean water, we've got really good land. We've got a shit Australian dollar, makes great to buy import parts and stuff like that, but I'll tell you, when you're trying to sell something, it's virtually impossible. We also have one of the largest poultry producers in Australia. And their processing plant is just south of Griffith, just near our farm actually. So why did the chicken cross the road? To get to Bahia, of course. And they do something like, I think they've expanded, so they intend on doing something like 300,000 chickens a day or something like that. So, you know, we're talking a lot of chicken there. On a side note, really can't leave Griffith without someone making some, you know, sort of deep-seated remark about what else we grow here. But we're also renowned for actually growing a very high-value crop. Emphasis on high. And it's just something that never appears on AB's agricultural census. Here's another bit of trivia for you. Rumour has it, you've been up the main street today, haven't you? Have you seen our beautiful courthouse? That was built in the 1920s. The rumour has it that it was actually destined for Griffith ACT. But on the consignment note, as they threw it on the railway carriages and came all the way out here, it just said Griffith. So someone assumed it was Griffith, New South Wales. So we have this wonderful, this beautiful, this magnificent courthouse. And it sits up the main street, and it was built in the 1920s, and there wasn't much else left in the 1920s. There wasn't much else here in the 1920s. And so some of the locals were really concerned because they actually thought we were going to become the next penal colony, given that the only thing that adorned the main street was a bloody courthouse. But it's a true mythical story. Griffith wasn't always known as Griffith. In fact, quite coincidentally, as we sit in the Bagtown Motel tonight, Bagtown was the name given to the first settlement in the area. And why Bagtown? Well, at the beginning of the irrigation era for the area, they lined the channels with concrete. And they had these jute bags that were left over. They didn't have any other building materials, so they actually used the jute bags to build tents and places of dwelling, so that hence it became known as Bagtown. It was established in 1910, and actually the first Griffith post office was in a tent in 1912, and it was made of these jute bags. Sadly, the only remaining evidence of anything of Bagtown is a cemetery, which is known as Bagtown Cemetery. It's located just around the corner from where Mark lived. And does everybody know Mark? Mark has the best DS I have ever seen. moved to its current site in about 1916, and we've been here ever since. Griffith has many attractions. We've got lots of wine, some which you've probably experienced some today. If you haven't, you'll probably have them tomorrow or Monday as you're driving out, and you'll fill up your boot of your Cit-In or under the bonnet. Christ, you've got big bonnets. Jeez, I don't know what you've got down there. You can carry a body or two, I'm sure.
We can arrange that for
I hope it's cool in there. We've got Hermit's Cave now. I don't know if you know the history, but we had a hermit live in this town in the 1930s, and he escaped from war and did all sorts of things, and lived in the area. And he was quite well known. He was a passive guy, and then he got really sick. The locals made up some money and sent him overseas back to Italy, and he died about 3 months later. But if you see his cave where he lived for a number of years, it's quite impressive given that there are absolutely no facilities there. We've got Lake Wangan. You're going out to Lake Wangan tomorrow, is that right? Yep, fantastic. Well, I won't spoil it for you. It's wet and stuff like that. We have a wonderful Italian